Welcome to my channel. My name is Emmy from Emmy Evolving. If this is your first time joining me, thank you for finding me. This is not your first time. Thank you for coming back. Y'all, this is a topic. I asked earlier, what is this conversation going to be about? And what I heard is the edge of your boundary is where your power ends. I think that's pretty profound. I think that's a pretty profound realization that I had as soon as it made sense to me, because I was like, what does that even mean? It's like, what does that even mean? Oh, oh. So, like, say it in your head a few times. The edge of your boundary is where your power ends. Mm, 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 mm. Mm, 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 mm. All right. We're going to find out what soul wants us to know about that. But I've never heard of that concept before until I heard it when I asked what this conversation was going to be about. That's intense. That's intense. All right. Just about ready. Oh, it's been such a busy day. It's been such a busy week. It's a busy week. Okay. Let me get started. So let's see. Okay. Makes sense. All of this makes much sense. All right. So this is a theme that's happening. This is a theme, and you have to really allow yourself to recognize how this applies to you, the ways in which you're not acknowledging what needs to be acknowledged. Okay. Acknowledged about the way you move through your life. So, for many, what happens when you have no boundaries? What happens when your boundaries continue to be encroached upon, and rather than enforcing it, you continue to concede, concede, concede. You erode your sense of security when you do that. You erode your sense of security, your sense of safety within yourself, within your life. This is a very important thing for those who are ready for the next part of their journey to grasp. How have you conceded your boundaries? How have you pulled back your boundaries to accommodate the demands of others? Let me tell you. Let me tell you. I don't do well with people who try and force me to concede my boundaries in order to accommodate their demands. That's why I feel very safe and very secure in my life at this point. I will not concede any boundaries. You don't like the boundaries being where they are? Go somewhere else. That's my logic. I'm serious. That's my logic. And it served me very, very, very well. Very, very, very well. I think for a lot of people, ew, is that hair or something? Fuzz. It was fuzz. We're safe. I think for a lot of people, what's happening right now is we're being tested to see how committed we are to our conviction. For many of us, we've learned to declare certain convictions, like our conviction that we are a sovereign. I'm a sovereign. This is my life, right? Okay, that's a powerful conviction to have, but is it really a conviction, or are you simply making a statement that you don't even fully wholeheartedly believe in? So, how can we tell? How can we tell if we actually believe that we're a sovereign? Well, it's very easy. The definition of sovereign is the utmost authority of the land. Do other people tell you what to do for yourself, your life, your decision making? Is it other people who are determining what you will decide, how you will act, where you will be, what you will do while you're there, how you speak, how you carry yourself, even your aesthetic? Is it other people that decide this for you? And maybe it's not a question of do they tell you to do this and do that. Maybe it's more of a question of do you go out of your way to accommodate them? Because if you don't, they say or do things that make you feel less than, that make you feel as though the person you are right now, it's not appropriate, it's unacceptable, and no one's going to like you if you don't stop. Thank God for my Capricorn placements. Because I think it's that gives me the ability to just really not care whether people like me or not. Genuinely. That's not a line. It's genuine. I don't care if people dislike me. You don't like me? Okay, then go somewhere else. Oh, you're gonna keep coming around and you don't like me? Sounds like you like me and you're upset with yourself because you like me and you can't make sense of why. That sounds like a you problem. It's still not my problem. It's still not my issue to solve. The edge of your boundary is where your power ends. If you keep pulling your boundaries back to accommodate these type of people, I mean, how much of your power have you already given away? How much of your power have you already given away without realizing or intending to give your power away? Your intention was what? To not be a problem? Why is it when they have their demands, it's not a problem? But when you have your wants, it's a problem. If it doesn't go with what they want, it's a problem. Why is that? Sounds like you're conceding more of your power. Sounds like you're allowing a lesser person to dominate you. I say it's a lesser person because someone who's truly in their power can be who they are and believe what they believe and be immersed in an environment where the beliefs, the ethos is different. And that's okay. You don't have to believe the same thing. It's okay. It's seen more of a, oh, well, that's interesting. I've never heard of that before. Tell me more. I believe something different. So this is new to me. Tell me more. I'd love to hear more. Not feeling threatened by the fact that someone has a different belief than you. That's powerful. That's very, very powerful to just be like, oh, well, that's interesting. Not in a condescending way, in a genuine, like, that's interesting. I've never heard that before. I wasn't aware of that. The edge of your boundary is where your power ends. The more you contemplate that simple phrase, the more you'll begin to understand how important boundaries are. And I promise you, there will be those who will try to be edgy and try and create some type of logic that is completely illogical and completely gaslights you into disrespecting yourself. Don't listen to those people. If it doesn't feel right, even if it's something I'm saying, if it doesn't feel right, maybe it's not right for you. Maybe you shouldn't take that in as your truth. It's okay. It's okay. It's not offensive to me if something I've said does not resonate with you. I mean, these videos are like what? Hour and a half, 2 hours long? And I talk fast. So are you supposed to resonate with everything? No, that would be obnoxious for me to expect you to resonate with everything I say. I mean, I share what I share, I say what I say, and it's kind of up to you what resonates, what doesn't resonate. How does it even apply to your life? It's not to be dictated to you, right? That is honoring, respecting, upholding your reasonable boundaries. The edge of your boundary is where your power ends. And guys, here's the thing. Sometimes people will get it twisted. When you conduct yourself in this way and toxic people get comfortable with you, they start to think that, oh, I got it like that with you. I got it like that with you. I mean, no, we're bonded. Are we? We're bonded. Okay. What makes you think that? Because I'm kind? I try to be kind to pretty much everyone. Now, if I continue to say to you, you are a very special, very dear person to me, you are my friend, and we're having private conversations, then clearly there's some type of friendship there. But if all of our interactions are simply through live streams, and I'm not saying these things to you and just gushing to you about how much I adore you and I'm so thankful for your presence in my life, I don't know that you have the type of influence and authority over me that you think you have. And those type of people, I know quite a few members of our community are very kind, very accommodating. Many of you resonate with me because we are similar. And in that similarity, I would not be surprised if you have people in your life, just like I have random people in my life who think they have unrestricted entitlement to me. No, that needs to be corrected. For people like that, the edge of your boundary needs to be pushed way, way, way forward. You need as much space between your core and the outer perimeter of that boundary, because that person will try and burrow and bore themselves into your core. They want to control what you think, control how you feel. Now, fuck that shit. Fuck that shit. And I hope you can sense the type of venom that comes up out of me when I say fuck that shit. You should not be treated that way. I sure as hell will not allow someone to treat me that way. Hell no. Are you? Oh, are you serious? You think? No, 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 no. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. When you are aware that you are a kind person, it makes it that much more necessary for you to enforce those boundaries. It's very important. It is your responsibility. It is your responsibility to ensure that this feeling of a diminishing sense of safety in your life is addressed appropriately. You don't always need to call people out. You don't. Okay, case in point. Um, Let me think of an example. I said case in point like I was already thinking of something. Um, an example. So, I'm publicly witnessable. You can see me on any platform, and I am highly specialized in parasitic work, right? Um, I'm very particular about protocol. Specific protocols are put into place for my business as well as for myself. If you have a type of parasitic circumstance that is highly infectious, first, it will be communicated that you need to refrain from entering into my live streams because I feel obligated to protect my community. I want to reduce the potentiality of parasitic exposure for everyone else. I'll advise you, okay, you need a parasitic extraction, and then I'll leave you to decide what you do. Now, if you're aware you have a parasitic situation and you completely disregard exposing everyone else to your parasite, I'll ban you. Is that me being mean? No, that's me enforcing a boundary, a very reasonable boundary. A very, very reasonable boundary. This is my space. Would I allow you to enter my home if you have ringworm? Let you rub your flesh all over my cloth furniture? Touch surfaces that my children would touch? Absolutely not. Would I allow you to come over if you have a staph infection? Impetigo? Impetigo? I don't fucking know how you pronounce that. I once knew how to pronounce it, but then my mom said it with her Filipino accent, and now I'm confused. It's been quite a few years. Um, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. I wouldn't be inviting you to come and spread that through my home. My online forums, my online platforms, those are my virtual homes. I have absolutely no apologies. If you're aware you have a parasitic circumstance and you continue to be completely um, unbothered by how your circumstance will affect everyone else, uh, no, you won't be invited anymore. You won't be welcome. It's not me being angry. It's me doing my due diligence. That is a boundary I will never concede. That is a boundary I will always enforce. So, it's not uncommon. It's not super common, but it's not unheard of um, for me to have to do that. And you're free to decide what you want to decide about your parasitic circumstance. And this has been a known thing about me for as long as I've been publicly visible. It's never a personal decision. It's a boundary that I will never concede. I will never concede that boundary. Why? As the high priestess of my virtual home, it is my responsibility for energetic hygiene. How does it apply to your day to day life? Does it apply to your day to day life? Is this something where um, you consistently have people who feel they're entitled to you? And, like, for example, do you have a sibling, a relative, a friend who consistently feels like they have, you know, unrestricted access to all of your belongings? They just go through your stuff. They don't even ask. Like for me, I've experienced that. I don't like that. I don't like that. I do not like that at all. At all. How about, do you know someone who um they don't reciprocate your love, your friendship? Um when you call and have a need, they're busy. They're busy. Oftentimes they don't respond, they don't or they'll tell you, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm busy." But when they have an issue, it could be the smallest thing. You need to stop what you're doing, put your life on hold, go run and do and be um, whatever they need you to do or be in that moment. And then when they no longer need you, you're kind of put on the shelf again. I would say that's an entitlement to you. Makes you feel bad, right? Makes you feel less than, makes you feel like you have to work even harder to have the honor of being in their space. I mean, I don't know. When it's put in those terms, that sounds even worse, to be honest. And if I'm going to be very blunt, which I do have a history of being very blunt, that actually sounds like you're being used. That sounds like you're being used. I don't know if you guys have experienced that. Um, but when I hear about things like that, I'm just like, oh no, 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 don't let that. I mean, do you have to confront? I would just be unavailable. For my line of work, you just get removed. I mean, we already had the conversation. It's not a secret that you have something parasitic. You know, going back to the analogy I made earlier, that's not a secret. You and I both have an awareness that this is your circumstance. Just remove you. No big deal. And of course, the people who want to be able to continue to access and encroach upon your boundaries, it's a big deal to them. It's a very big deal to them because they want more, 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 more. No, that's my answer. No. So there's all of this intensity that maybe is kind of flying under the radar for you because you struggle with acknowledging what you deserve. Ooh, yikes. Do you struggle with acknowledging what you deserve? I sometimes do. Sometimes. I think I'm getting better with it. I think I'm getting better with it. But wow. I mean, it's simple as that. The underlying issue is you struggle with understanding what you deserve. And when you don't understand what you deserve, when you don't have some minimal degree of understanding of your worth, your sovereignty, your sacredness, um, I kind of get the impression that anyone would be much more susceptible to the gaslighting and boundary encroachment. We can't allow that anymore. See, awakening in reverse. Hi, Daria. Awakening in reverse. This is about you not being aware. Now, if you're not aware, because life is a journey about figuring yourself out, understanding the way you function, understanding the way your perception is affected by the things you've experienced, especially through childhood. We're not trying to make excuses as to why we're a victim. We need to get away from that, victim mentality. Let people think whatever they're going to think. They're going to think it anyways, no matter what you do. They're going to think it anyways. What they think about you has more to do with them processing and being triggered, or let me flip that, them being triggered and processing, right? Like I trigger a lot of people. I'm aware of that just by existing. I trigger a lot of people by some of the content that I talk about, that I'm speaking about general terms or my personal experience. Some people get triggered like, oh my God, I can't believe she said that. Why do you feel personally attacked? Because you're identifying with whatever I said. Ain't it funny? I mean, I've seen that happen quite a few times. I've even had viewers over the years who hold a special place in my heart. Will be like maybe in a private session or something, and they'll just share that with me, like casually share that yeah, sometimes, girl, you just trigger the shit out of me, and I have to get off the live stream, and it'll take me a week to come back on and finish the live stream. And then I'll be like, really? And I don't take offense to it. I don't take it personally. And they're like, yeah, because it's like, man, all the shit that I don't want to address, you're talking about it. I feel like you're talking to me. And I'm like, that's powerful that you recognize that, because it is. It's powerful. It's powerful. I respect people's boundaries. You need to push me away for a little bit or a long time because you're struggling to process something that was triggered to the surface by something I said, unknowingly triggering you. Process it. Take the time and the distance to process it. For me, I just keep right on going because I don't know that I've affected you in that way. It's not intentional. I don't know that I affected you in that way. I just keep right on talking. Take the time you need. That's a healthy connection. Healthy. I've also had people tell me, like, it's hard for me to process. You go through certain types of topics so fast. It's like boom, boom, boom. And, it's like sometimes I just like, it's overwhelming for me because it's so much stuff that I'm realizing about myself. And I take a break. Well, I don't want you to think that I'm mad at you or I've abandoned you because you're taking time to yourself. Yeah, what if you notice that I'm gone? I promise you, I will notice you're gone. If you hold a special place in my heart, I will notice that you're gone, but I won't assume that you're pissed at me or abandoned me. I will assume you're very busy. You're in the process of healing something, and I hope everything's going well. And when I see you again, I'm like, hey, it's been a while. I get excited, and then that's it. It's no big deal. These are the types of connections, personal connections you need to have in your life, where it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal for you to prioritize yourself, quite possibly for the first time in your life. It's not a big deal. What's a big deal is that you're finally getting to a point where you're realizing you're just as important as everyone else that you've been loving on and doing things for and considering before your own needs. I'm in a space where, yeah, this next card, it's almost like a rebirth. I'm feeling so much power over myself and my life because, man, these days I'm just owning myself at a depth that I don't think I've ever given myself permission to be at. And you know what triggered all of this? The most heinous, most unholy, most disgusting violation of my sovereignty. I love the fact that I'm just so naturally rebellious to the very things, the words, the actions, the circumstance that's designed to destroy me. And because I'm so rebellious to that, it's just like, oh, sit there and watch. Excuse me. Watch me blossom because I don't give a fuck what you say. I don't. Right. And I'm looking at the progression of my journey. And it's this thing of like, okay, so we have like a really ridiculous, fucking crazy individual who's fantasizing about unaliving me and my family and community members. And it's fucking crazy. Right. And because of that, and then a couple other things, the loss of my senior girl, I just like, oh, what was once very sacred to me felt like a very unsafe space. So because of that, um, I kind of finally agreed what Soul had been telling me. What Soul used one of my twins in 2017 to tell me, like, hey, you need to. And I'm just like, I don't want to. But all of a sudden, it's like, looking at the pattern of my life. I didn't want to leave Facebook either, but it got to a point where it was just really unhealthy for me. So I left Facebook, and then beautiful things happened. My community was born. So now I'm looking at it, and it's like it's a similar type of cycle, a violation of my boundary, an encroachment on my sacred space, and me kind of conceding just a little bit. And I'm like, fine, I'll switch over to TikTok. Don't really want to, but that's fine. I'll do it. I'll trust my own process. I switch over to TikTok, and that place is a clusterfuck. It is. It is. So many poorly behaved individuals. And you expose me to that long enough, I'll push back. I'm the type of person, metaphorically, possibly literally, I don't know. There's a potential for literal. I'm the type of person, metaphorically, you keep pushing me, and I'm like, stop, stop. And then you push me some more, and it's like, hey, come on. I'm serious. Please stop. And then you keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And it goes from me trying to communicate that I'm serious. I don't like what you're doing to me. And then it becomes a thing of raising my voice because maybe you can't hear me. And then it becomes a thing of, I'm going to fucking choke slam you. You don't understand what I'm saying? You want to keep pushing? Okay. We going to choke slam you. Me and all my personalities, we going to choke slam you. And then, of course, that type of cycle continues. I'm very efficient. So I go from, I'm going to warn you one time. I'm going to warn you 2 times. You're out. And then, of course, it needs to get more efficient than that. First time, call you out. Second time, you get cussed the fuck out from me. You're an adult. I did not birth you. This is a boundary. You cross it, you get the consequence. And it's become very, very efficient. So all of that ugly, boom, out the other end. Beautiful. I'm not apologetic for being who I am. Not only am I enforcing boundaries regularly, excuse me, I've also pushed out those boundaries further because you won't be pressed up on me. I don't like that. I like my space. Do I need to be sorry? Do I need to, kind of beg you to understand? You don't understand? Oh, okay. So you're one of those people who think you're always right and your needs come before fuck out of here. Get out of here. Why is that important for people to witness? Because the people who witness it, they're one of two. Either they're the type of person that continues to violate people's boundaries until they get fucking embarrassed and put in their place, at which point all the others who haven't had an opportunity yet will see that and know you will not be fucking around and finding out here, because what you find out, I don't know if your fragile little ego can handle that. So they'll leave you alone. Or the other type of person who has been treated that way over and over and over and gaslit to believe that their boundaries are disrespectful to other people. They are selfish. They are self-centered. They are beaten down day after day after day by other people's unrealistic, unfair expectations and entitlements. And they need to see someone who they resonate with because they can identify my true, genuine kindness and be like, you know what? She's right. Fuck that shit. And yeah, fuck that shit. Don't let them treat you that way. Don't keep welcoming them into your sacred space while they treat it like a dumping ground. Hell no. Hell no. Absolutely not. And sometimes there's no point in explaining this, especially to people who can never take accountability for their actions. Never take accountability for their actions. What's the point of explaining something to someone who's not actually listening, hearing you? They're only listening enough to be able to formulate a response that shifts the blame to someone else. That's a waste of your time. This is a period where you need to use your time, your energy, your opportunities in a very constructive, very intentional, very empowering way. It's very important to do that during this period, especially. Did we already enter fucking Mercury? Sorry. Hold on. Mercury retrograde. Let's see. When did it start? It started August 5th and it will continue until the 28th. I just, okay. Oh. This is some really it's from British Vogue. Um what not to do during Mercury retrograde. Don't rush into important decisions. Don't sign contracts too quickly. Don't launch new projects without thinking. Don't make major purchases. Limit travel if possible. Don't argue with others. Listen up, girl. I had a teacher in Miss Wilcox. Miss Woolcock. Woolcock, what's her name? In high school. When she used to get irritated with a class, she would slam her book on the table. Listen up, you folks. Seriously. Listen, Emmy, listen. Don't argue with others. Don't be too hard on yourself. Don't let stress overwhelm you. Mm. Mm, 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 mm. Oof, 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 oof. This is some pretty crucial life advice for, I think, every period of your life, not just retrograde. Huh? You're going to be facing someone soon. I don't know who this message is for. You're going to be facing someone soon with an upside down ethos. Their mindset, the way they function, the way they think, it's very upside down. I don't know. I have mhm. With those type of people, I'm going to be honest, I'm not really the best person to give advice as to how to handle that because I know someone's like, "Well, what should we do?" I'm very cut and dry. Like I used to not be for most of my life, and I'm just at a point where I'm just very cut and dry because every way that I thought of handling those type of people has not worked, and the only things that have worked is just being cut and dry. You have an upside down um, mindset, perspective, view, expectation, anything that I deem toxic for myself, you're out. Why? Because I know myself. I know myself um, to the degree that I understand what I need. When I'm in the presence of toxic people, one of two things happens. Either I begin to emulate their toxic behaviors, or I become so triggered that I can't help but to revert back to the same old coping mechanisms. And I deserve peace. If you're toxic, I don't want to act like you. I don't want to risk acting like you. and not realizing that I'm acting like you. And I don't want mm, I don't want to live in that old house again. You have these houses that you live in within yourself. The houses host the different versions of you that have existed through the course of your life. I never moved back to the same house. I don't. I always just move to a different house when it's time to move. When I have to move, when change is being forced upon me, I move to a different house. And sometimes we want to stay in the house that we're in, but it's not possible. There was this one house that I lived in for a short while. It's gorgeous. It was gorgeous. I loved being there. I loved being there. It fit my family beautifully. There was just the most beautiful layout, and it's very supportive of the type of things that my family does together. We like to be in the same space together. And it just felt so comfy and perfect, except our safety was compromised. So I didn't want to listen. I wanted to stay. And I wasn't allowed to. And you might be like, what do you mean you weren't allowed to? You're an adult. You can make your own decisions. Yeah, I wanted to stay. And soul said to leave, and I didn't want to leave. And so, you know what happened? The owner decided to sell it. Yeah, I had no choice. I had to leave. Had to leave. Sometimes we hold on to the very spaces that are no longer appropriate for us, those spaces being the houses that your different versions live in. Sometimes you have to just let that go, knowing that it was not the right place for you. So when I come across a toxic person whose behaviors, whose treatment of me puts me at risk of returning back to one of those houses, I choose me before I choose you. I choose me before I choose trying to protect the non existent feelings of toxic people. They don't actually feel, they just have this mindset that they're the victim all the time. Have you ever noticed that? That's really the only emotion they feel. That victimhood and the glee of being able to have yet another excuse to present themselves as a victim. This time, reporting to everyone that you are the aggressor, you are the villain. I've come across so many people like that. I just, no. Your feelings were going to be hurt either way because you'll never be able to control me. So let me hurt your feelings by simply liberating myself. Say whatever you're going to say. You were going to say it anyways. And it really doesn't matter because I won't be sticking around to hear it. The edge of your boundary is where your power ends. I used to be ashamed that I knew how to enforce boundaries. I used to be ashamed, very ashamed. Like, why am I like this? Why am I like this? Because deep down inside, beyond what I struggle to understand and accept about myself, deep down inside, I know I deserve to be treated properly. And the part of me that's aware that I deserve something different than what they are offering, it is offended and reacting appropriately. It's like the equivalent of, like, say you have a friend that claims to love you so much, so much. And you've been friends for a very long time. And whenever they invite you over, maybe you have a food allergy or something. Um, they don't give a shit. They won't have any dish for you. It's like, "Oh, you're just being dramatic. Just have a little bit. You'll be fine." Or, and I used to get this a lot because years ago, I was a vegan for quite a few years. I was vegan. And in my culture, most dishes come with meat in it, some type of meat, some type of animal product. Uh, and it's like, I wasn't the type of vegan that was like, oh my God, you eat meat. I was just like, I'm good. I make sure I eat before I go to an event, or I'll time it so that we leave before I have hypoglycemia, right? I don't expect to be fed. I have a very specific diet. I don't expect you to cater to me. And it was always this thing of, despite the fact that I never complained, some of these people who claim to love me would have, events and be like, you're really not going to eat? Do you have a salad? Yeah. There's a salad right there. There's pasta salad, there's regular salad, except it's Caesar salad and it has anchovies, and your pasta salad has cut salami in it. And I'd be like, "Oh my God, you're such a diva. You can't just pick it out." Bitch, I'm not even fucking complaining that you didn't even consider that I don't eat anything that's touched animal. I was so staunch in my veganism that if you use the same scoop for an animal product dish and you put it and mix it with a non-animal dish, the whole thing is tainted. Never complained. This is my own personal beliefs. I'm responsible for myself. You will not have to cater to me like that. But there are people who will be offended by the fact that even though I'm not expecting you to cater to me, I'm not complaining at all, I'm not making any faces, I'm being very pleasant. They are offended by the fact that I will not bend my rules for myself because they want me to. Like, wow, for real? I have a friend who, um, if they ever come over and they bring food, they're very quick to be like, okay, what's the new thing that will kill you? They will not bring anything. They won't even trust me to not touch food that they've made that they are very clear, like, hey, you can't have this because it has this, this, and this. They won't even bring that into the house. Like, that's a real friend. That's real love. I'm not even asking you to accommodate me. Like, you don't even have to bring anything over. But they will go out of their way to make sure that they're aware of what will even just give me a little bit of a bloated belly. Like, that's not acceptable. That's harmful to me in their eyes. So they will not allow even that type of harm. Know the type of people that you have in your life. And always remind yourself, the edge of my boundary is where my power ends, because that is the edge of your sovereign kingdom. Your power does not extend into the realm of other people's existences. into their auric field. It just doesn't. If you are a sovereign, your power ends at the border of your kingdom. It doesn't enter into someone else's life. You don't get to dictate to anyone else. You can share information, but you leave them free to decide what to do with that information. And if the people in your life do not respect your sovereign right and sovereign duty to decide things for yourself, well, then these are people who don't see you as a sovereign. Maybe they see you as, I don't know, a peasant in their kingdom, tossing you some crumbs to keep you happy, lest you complain. Because I've come to realize there are some people in my life that I don't really have much interaction with at this point, who keep me around because in their eyes, they like to try and view me as, one of the peasants in their kingdom that should really just feel honored that I'm allowed to be in their presence. Here's a crumb. Be grateful. Be grateful. It's okay. They can be that way, but I just won't be around for the crumbs. I'm grain intolerant, so you can keep your crumbs. I have an entire feast back at my kingdom. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. And, it became a thing of less and less and less interaction, less entering into their kingdom, into their spaces, because these are the kind of people who they want you to come into their spaces. They'll never enter into yours. They'll come into you'll come into their spaces because then they have an edge over you. They'll have more of a say. I had this one toxic relative, like toxic as fuck. I'm telling you, if y'all only knew, which I'm not going to share. But here was the thing. This toxic relative, we were staying at their place to take care of my brother during his end stage heart failure thing. And, I have a large family, and that's very much an expense for electric, all the utilities and stuff. And I remember telling this relative, like, hey, I'll cover the internet and let me know, what the electric and the water is, because I mean, there's so many of us. And they lived alone. And I'm like, I'll cover it while we're here. It's only right. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of expense to take on. And they kept refusing and refusing and refusing. And it wasn't refusing because they wanted to help out. It was refusing because if I paid for any of that, then they couldn't shove it in my face that was their house. I was just like, then pay for it. And then at one point they were like, you need to ask my permission before you do your live streams and your sessions. For what? Because this is my house. Shut the fuck up. I'm not asking you for no kind of fucking permission. Get out of my fucking way. That's what I said to them. They were serious. They were serious. So was I. Shut the fuck up. I'm not asking you for no fucking permission. Get the fuck out of my way. We were both serious. And you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. See, sometimes you need to begin seeing that you're being lured beyond your boundary because you're much more vulnerable when you're not in your space. That's a very hard thing to accept about some of the people that we love. But you know what I found out? I need to love myself first and foremost. I already know I have the capacity to love even people who have treated me so poorly for so long, who've disregarded me, who have just kept me around just as a charity case and, all kind of different things like that. I know I have the capacity to love so deeply with no expectations of mutual respect being extended to me. And it took me a very long time to realize, despite being able to love people who are like that, I've refused to love myself, even just a little bit. I'm not a victim. These were all decisions. And I had to go through the process that I went through to begin realizing why it is so important to truly love myself, to truly allow myself to have the very types of connections that I deserve, the types of connections that I work so hard to contain, sustain, maintain, and be worthy of always. It's okay for you to begin that process now. I know you're going to be scared about who you'll lose. The only thing you'll lose are the things that have been weighing you down unnecessarily for far too long and obscuring your view of who you actually are. That's the only thing you'll lose. Michael, you're going through a shedding cycle. As you shed, you are vulnerable. You are not weak. You're just vulnerable because you're existing in a space and a way that you're not yet accustomed to. Given enough time, maybe a few weeks, few months, who knows? Depends on how quickly you acclimate and how adaptable you are. Given enough time, it will be your norm and you won't feel so vulnerable. You'll be much more aware. So when you first shed a layer, when you first experience yet another cycle of ego death, be careful who you allow around you. You need to really protect yourself. Protect yourself from the influence of their attempts to distort your perception of who you are, how you are. I had to learn this the hard way. I had to learn this the very hard way. You're protected, even though you feel vulnerable, even though you're existing in a space of vulnerability because you've just shed, you are still protected. And when you feel unsafe in the presence of someone, when you are shedding, and I hope you guys take this in. When you feel unsafe in the presence of someone who's been a part of your life for any length of time, and you feel unsafe when you are shedding, you are the most sensitive to information and energy immediately after you've shed. It's like when your skin peels after you've had a sunburn. It's like when you peel the scab off and the skin underneath is a little bit tender. Yeah, the nerve endings are exposed. That means those individuals have not yet had the opportunity to create a callus so that you're left unaware of how they actually treat and regard you. It's always very telling to me when someone that I felt close to, I loved deeply, I considered a friend or I considered family, I go through a process of shedding and suddenly I'm just like, whoa, I just feel really unsafe around you. I feel like you don't really like me. I feel like you just keep me around and I don't know why. I feel like you don't really want me to succeed. You don't want me happy. You don't want my peace. Everything about me irritates the fucking shit out of you, and you don't like it. That I am, in fact, happy. That I am, in fact, in a space of peace. That I am, in fact, successful. It's only actually very recently that I'm just like, fuck that shit. Fuck it. I'm done playing these games. I mean, granted, I wasn't playing, I was being genuine the whole time, but I'm done. I'm like done. I'm done. The edge of your boundary is where your power ends. Yeah. Those are trauma bonds. Sometimes we are so loyal to certain people and certain environments, certain circumstance, simply because of the longevity. Like we've known them for so long. We haven't had anything in common for a very long time, but we stay because, well, I've known them for so long. And what have you known about them for so long? And in my case, it was this thing of, I've known you've resented me for so long. I've just known you've resented me for so long. And I've just really tried my best to stay out of your hair, really gone out of my way to not allow my existence to offend you. And yet it still does. So, you know what? Fuck you, bitch. I don't give a shit. Yeah. That's where I'm at this point. I'm just like, I'm in my mid 40s. This is the part of my life where I'm consciously creating it. I love it. Up until I reached this point, it was kind of this thing of, um, when I look back, I see that I was allowing everyone else to create my life and my experiences for me. Not all bad. Not all were trying to control me. This is just the way that I was functioning within my life. Allowing myself to be influenced by other people's wants, needs, preferences. Um, and it could have been something like, um, oh, well, it wasn't a bad thing. It was actually a really good thing because I had no awareness of it. But someone once told me, it was in a group chat. Someone once told me, like, yeah, I mean, you'll say like the craziest, most scariest, devastating shit, and it just like it's no big deal to you, while the person is like, holy fucking shit, and you're like, yeah, yeah, but then and it's true, it's true. And I didn't realize that people would be reeling off of that and scared shitless. And so for the longest time, I needed to know that though. For the longest time, I was like, okay, will this scare them? Is this like, is this inappropriate to say? I don't know social cues. Um, and that's actually one of the reasons why, from that point forward, I really made it a point. If I'm scanning someone or reading for someone, I will ask them, do you scare easy? Like, how truthful do you want me to be? How much do you want me to share with you of your message? Because some of this is kind of upsetting. I am concerned it will upset you or scare you. And here's the greatest part. The person that told me that ended up becoming one of my bestest friends. I needed to know that. That's an example of how someone else's words can influence who you become, can influence how you choose to experience things. I was largely unaware because a lot of scary things have happened to me through my whole life. And now it's kind of, I'm just desensitized, like, oh, no, you got a demon. I mean, you should remove it. And people be like, I have a demon, I'm possessed. A little bit. I mean, to me, it's just like, yeah, no, a little bit. Not fully. You're still in control, but it definitely tries to influence you. I wouldn't leave it there. I would take it out. And people will be like, oh my God, oh my God. Like, it's not a big deal. Most people have some low grade possession, anyways. Most people. Or like, I'll do an extraction for a client and I'll give them the result. And there's like It's like an entire long ass list of all the findings, and they're like, "Oh my god, it's so bad." I'm like, "No, that's still within average. It's still within average. Most people have around that much. Some a little bit more. No, still within reason. It's fine. It's fine." But understanding the influence other people have, whether they're intending to or not, because you know that person wasn't trying to influence me. They were just stating what they observed in a very matter of fact way. It was not intended to trigger, hurt, shame, or anything like that. And I received it in that way, like, oh, I was not aware. Holy shit. I need to shift that. It can be a healthy thing, but for most people, it's not a healthy thing because guess what? It's done in a way that creates shame, fear, guilt, embarrassment. The edge of your boundary is where your power ends. And when you give people the right, the entitlement to encroach, to go beyond that boundary, well, that was a choice you made. Maybe consciously, maybe not so aware that you gave them that permission. But now you're being given the opportunity to begin understanding some of these things. So you're going to be held accountable at this point. When you weren't aware, I mean, you can't exactly shame yourself for not being aware, right? That's not fair. But now that you're gaining awareness, you need to be aware. So the next thing, oh, y'all, I don't like advising this, but it is what it is. So some of you don't want to separate from specific people because I'm assuming whoever this message is for, you've been listening to this live stream, this video, and you're like, oh my God, she's talking about so and so. I probably am, if that's how you're feeling. That's probably who this message is about. I don't even know who it is, but if you're feeling that way, you know who it is. So you don't want to separate from them. Maybe a friend, maybe a relationship, romantic relationship. Maybe it's a work thing. I don't know. I don't know. But you need to use some clear judgment. You need to be aware that this individual will not heal. Why? Well, they have a mindset of, I'm not wounded. You're the problem. I'm not the problem. It's kind of like a narcissistic thing. Have you ever seen someone heal from narcissism? No, because they're not the problem. Narcissists do not believe they are the problem. They 100% genuinely believe it's everyone else. How are you going to heal if there's no problem, no wound? It's everyone else. They're just picking on you. They're just nitpicking. They're just this, they're just that. Yeah, babe, you got to be honest with yourself. I don't know who this is in your life. And I know it's going to be difficult to kind of push that away. But I don't see how you could possibly tap into your power and heal your own wounds so long as someone keeps coming and tearing open the stitches every single time you stitch that wound shut. You're creating complications that are unnecessary simply because a person who should not have access to you has access to you. Ooh. This is a very specific message. I think this is continuing from the last couple cards that I just pulled. Your perspective is upside down. You're not seeing clearly what's actually truly happening and what's at risk. Mm. It's caused you to become fragmented in your perception of who you are. For some, it's even this possibility that the fragmentation that's occurred has caused you to identify as the wound. I found that people who identify as the wound that they've carried for a prolonged period, they will absolutely refuse to allow you to help them. And they will do this by restricting the amount of time and access you have to them. There are several people who I personally know who have different types of ailments. And I've repeatedly offered, I'm not talking about like, hey, here's a coupon, for a big discount off my services. It's this thing of, can I help you? Can I like, is it okay with you if I work on you? And they're aware of the work that I do, the gravity of the work that I do. And they'll always, all of these people that I know personally, they'll side skirt it. They'll agree in a way where it's clear that they're uncomfortable, and then kind of like, uh yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. Of course. I'll message you later when I'm free. And then of course there's never there's never a message back. There's never, another discussion, a follow-up discussion of the offer. And I've learned to kind of just stop offering because I respect their decision first and foremost. And secondly, I think my time and energy just needs to be put towards things that will help me to further heal the part of me that is just so desperate to help people who don't even want my help. We're not saviors. We're not saviors. We're not here to save other people. We're here to offer of ourselves and allow other people to pick and choose whether or not they will welcome us in their life. For most people who are part of my life before this publicly witnessable journey, they're very uncomfortable about the work that I do, and they don't even know what the work I do is. They don't know. Most people don't know and don't understand the work that I do. And it's to be expected because I don't really share it. I don't talk about it. Yeah, very uncomfortable by it. So I leave it. I let it be. Because remember, love is an action that's intended to further liberate the very person you love on. It's not to force them to agree with you. The edge of your boundary is where your power ends. They have their own kingdom and their own decisions to make. You need to start using your energy to preserve your sovereignty, to preserve the sacredness of your journey, rather than interfering with everyone else's, right? And you might be like, why don't interfere? Babe, if they don't want your help, if you've offered once, twice, maybe even 3 times, they don't want your help. That's interfering. It's interfering. I know you just want to help. And as someone who genuinely just wants to help, like you just want to help, I had to go through tremendous hardship to begin understanding that I genuinely just wanted to help everyone so I wouldn't have enough time, energy, or focus for myself. I used everyone else as an excuse to not heal myself. That's a hard reality, but it's the truth. It doesn't make me a bad person. It just means now that I'm willing to acknowledge the actual root of the issue, that tells me my soul knows I'm ready to begin putting action towards my healing. It's all a process. You can't rush it. But if you're being made aware of the root, that means soul has already quietly placed in your hand the shovel to dig that root out. You see, when you have a poisonous plant growing in your garden, one that's causing some type of danger for you, you don't just cut it down. You have to dig it out completely, get out the entire root system so it doesn't just regrow once again. Whoever this is for you, you thought you had a lifelong alliance. And maybe at one point that was the truth. But now it's not. You cannot count on them. You cannot trust them with your heart, with your fears, with your potential. And you just have to be honest with yourself. Just because things shift and what you had planned together is no longer viable does not mean they were lying to you the whole time. It just means you've both changed and grown and gone your own directions. And now it's time for you to have a journey on your own. Once you can accept that and put the appropriate action with that awareness and acceptance, your productivity will return. Your productivity will return, and your inner child will have the ability to finally begin healing. And I think you'll find if you really have the courage to truly assess your life, look at all the events that pop up in your head every so often, all of the traumas, all of the disappointments and the betrayals. You'll see it stems from an issue that was planted in your life's garden while you were still a child. All of your issues you have in your relationships, in your friendships, issues at work, everything, all of those issues, they stem from something that was said or done to you as a child. You didn't deserve those things, but please keep in mind that very commonly, the people who said and did these things, they didn't have an awareness of the lasting effects of their words or their actions. Let's move forward from that. Instead of fixating on what was done, what was said, how it hurt you, let's move forward and utilize our power over ourselves and forge a path out of that space. Not because you're avoiding it, but because you've finally learned what you needed to learn from it. And it's time for you to now explore different places within yourself, different existences. You deserve to know all your parts. Let me get one final card, or I kind of just want to go. I want to eat. I still have to get ready for class. One final card. Let's make it a Kiki card. Let's bring out Kuan Yin. All right, Kiki. Tell us something good. Tell us something bougie. Come on, Kiki. Make it good. Make it good. Okay. Hold on. Oh, here. We'll get this. Whew, no whammy, no whammy, no whammy. Big bucks. Oh, okay, girlfriend. I'm going to get a seat made, custom made for me, just like that, just so I could sit like that and just be by myself. I'll show you the card. Don't worry. I mean, I deserve this. I deserve a seat like this. I'm going to show you. You know what I'm saying? Just like the bougiest seat. And I want it to have like authentic crystals in it. And I want this part to be like feathers and stuff. I don't know. That doesn't sound sustainable though. Okay. The Lotus Throne, card number 37. 3 being the number of a solid foundation from which to complete this part of your journey. 7 is the number of completion. The same lotus wisdom that enlightens beloved Kuan Yin and all spiritual masters is the very same lotus light within your own heart. It can take great courage to trust your own inner light, to ascend the throne of your own inner spiritual authority, especially if the light of others around you seems more powerful than your own. You're being asked to trust this inner guidance above all others now. Have faith in your own heart. Know that you are divine. This is everything we've been talking about during this video. Everything. Everything we've been talking about. There are times on the path that we can greatly benefit from the assistance from others. In fact, these times are almost always. A true spiritual master, teacher, guru, guide, or healer has the same role: to connect you with conscious awareness to your own inner light so that you may come to realize the spiritual power, authority, and beauty that you are in truth is the same spiritual power, authority, and beauty that you may see and honor in them. So the people that you're drawn to are mirrors of aspects of you. They're a mirror of you. Yeah. Sorry. Sometimes we might need an external guide to help us make that connection. Sometimes we are closer to our own divine wisdom than we consciously realize. And yet we fall into a habit of believing that others may know more of what is good or true for us than we do ourselves. Sometimes, out of habit and conditioning, it is just easier to see the divine light in others than within our own heart. This oracle has come to you to guide you to trust that your own inner teacher is growing stronger, that you have more spiritual wisdom than you may have previously acknowledged, and that you will benefit greatly from heeding your own heart's guidance at this time. You're guided here to carefully discern the level of influence that others may be having over you. I'm telling you literally everything we talked about. I'm going to read that again. You're guided here to carefully discern the level of influence that others may be having over you. In your admirable willingness to be open, to learn, and to grow, you are wise not to surrender your discernment. No matter how wise or powerful a teacher might be, it is wiser and more powerful still to always test what they seek to say to you by sitting with it in your own heart. Does all guidance you have been following feel true to your heart? I think for some of us, you have people in your life who are trying to dictate things to you, who have grown so accustomed to their word being like the word of God to your ears. That's not love. That's not friendship. It's just not. It's not. At this time, the inner teacher, the guru within all, the goddess light of Kuan Yin in your own heart, is speaking to you, urging you to trust your own divine nature more deeply than ever before. You are being asked to ascend to the lotus throne of your own divine soul. Trust your courage. Your journey is taking you into spiritual maturity, and you will need to acknowledge that you have spiritual authority within your own heart. Yes, you can learn from others, but always honor your inner teacher, as this is your own unconditionally loving and flawless guide, the part of you that is pure divine wisdom, always has been and always will be. The only one that needs to control your life is you. People can share their opinions, they can share their perceptions, but you are the utmost authority, and you ultimately are the one that's going to decide what will happen with that. Will you let it in? Will you push it out because it doesn't resonate? It's up to you. There's not necessarily a right or wrong. There's just this thing of, are you being responsible for yourself? Or have you delegated your life to someone else for them to manage for you? I'd say that's giving your power away. Remember, the edge of your boundary is where your power ends. Use it responsibly. So before I go, I want to remind you guys, I will be doing the Morphogenetic Fundamentals workshop very soon. With that, access to the workshop for previous people, because I'm making changes to the actual pages. I'm revamping the design. That's been cut. If you'd like to join me for this workshop, I'm going to be teaching you how to maintain your own energetic field, how to kind of manage things for yourself, because there's a lot that you could do for yourself. Go ahead and click on this QR code or the link in the comment. That will take you exactly where you need to go to sign up. We usually end the sign up like a day or two before the actual workshop, just so that everyone has time to work out any bugs or anything like that with their access. So you won't have to worry about that the day of the workshop. That's usually when we have the cutoff. So, guys, I got to get going. Breathe deep. You'll get through this period. You'll be perfectly fine. It's just high time for you to really claim your power over yourself and start making decisions and choices and selecting options intentionally. It's time for you to create the life that you've dreamt of. Because again, I've come to realize the life that I've dreamt of, that I've seen in my dreams, it's not a dream. It's a reminder from soul that these are the things that need to be done, and those are the places I eventually end up. And so I need to do the work to be able to accomplish what needs to be accomplished in the time frame that soul has determined as the most appropriate and most powerful for me in my journey. We're all going to be fine. Try and minimize your fear while you maximize your trust in your own soul. So, guys, I'm going to get going. Please give this video a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, please do subscribe. Turn on your notification bell. Join me when I'm live. And also find me on TikTok. I'm Emmy Evolving across the board. Be careful of fake Emmy Evolving accounts. These fucking bastardos. I only follow one person. My only account on TikTok follows only one person, and he follows me back. Okay. That's my husband. So, and I don't reach out. Don't give anyone your WhatsApp. Don't give anyone on WhatsApp your financial info, no donation, no nothing like that. I do not solicit people in that way. Neither does anyone on my team. So,